what if our fears are made up and the things that we fear the most are the what ifs? So this actually training came from a very beautiful friend that I've known for years who has been following me, but continues to show me her heart and just the privilege of being a human being. So I want to thank you and honor you. But I want to read what she wrote here. And I think I want to talk about this a little further. You know who you are. And I love you. And so here's the thing, she's like, well, January, what if, the things that we fear, are the what ifs, right? And that they're not really the real fears, but they're the fears that keep us anxious at night, but they're made up fears in our mind. And she says another thing that phenomenon is another thing is that there's a phenomenon of actually drawing to yourself the very things you fear might happen or be the case in a situation when fear is one's primary emotion, which is so accurate. And it really has everything to do with our reticular activator. And here's why I wanted to do a training on this, because what if they're made up fears, right? And what I mean by made up fears, like, oh my gosh, what if I get sick, right? And what if my kids get sick, and we start to ruminate these things? What if I am, going to get in an accident? What if the world's going to end? What if I'll be alone for the rest of my life? I mean, all these what ifs, and we start to go there in our mind. And what happens is that, the way fear works is that when we ruminate things in our thoughts and repeat it over and over again, our subconscious brain cannot decipher the difference between reality and made up. It only knows that it's experiencing it. So by thought alone, we actually release the same cortisol hormones as though you're actually experiencing the same exact fear over and over again in the physical world. But if they're made up fears, your body is experiencing it as though they were real. And so what happened is that you're releasing all this stress hormone based on made up fears. And I love what she wrote here, because I think it's an important learning that fear comes from doubt, and she said here that I came to learn to trial and error that there is another emotion related to the fear family, which is really doubt, which is such the emotion of doubt, which is so often, we really our fear comes from. And that, she says here that really it's about, faith, and that allows us to replace those fears. And so I want to talk about this because just as fear, the what ifs, the things we talk about that causes all these stress in our brain and sleepless nights and insomnia, because we're thinking 10 worried steps ahead. And as mothers, this, as my child breathing is, what if, somebody does this in school, and we go into these layers and we get into a tailspin of spiral fear, really. And it's almost as though we get into a life of skepticism, because then we become a woman of doubt. And here's what happens when we become a woman of doubt. It becomes neurologically wired in our brain, and now it becomes habitual. And guess what happens? We doubt good people. We doubt God, we doubt friends, we doubt women, we doubt men, we doubt people, we doubt our job. And it becomes a habitual pattern, which inhibits us to actually see good. There's been times in my life where, I've had, women who say, I think you're faking, January. I don't think you're that nice. I don't think that you are, I don't think that that's real. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, well, if I am many things, and many things that that are both good and bad, but I really am not good at faking things. I am pretty, I transparent, right? And it was interesting to me, as you go through the study of women who live in doubt, they actually cannot receive genuine goodness, because they doubt if that goodness is actually real, simply because their mind and their brain has habitually doubted people, things, and material things, or the world, as a habitual way of thinking. It becomes sort of habitual. And so I wanted to highlight this what if doubt, because of it's a prison. Fear is a prison. And and as a byproduct of fear, we live this doubtful life, which then repels people, and we want to have more friends and more opportunities, but our life is a living doubt, and people experience that. I remember this one woman who said, people never give me anything. I don't understand, and you're doing training, but she was always so skeptical. So every time she was in conversation with people, people's guards were up because her guard was up. And she wasn't aware of it. And I think she suffered for it simply because she wasn't aware for it. She wasn't aware of it. Nobody made her aware of it. It's not like we have a school that helps us to study ourselves and our, habitual doubtful patterns. And so she suffered for it. But we really suffer when we live in fear, and it's really a prison. And so I want you to just learn one habit to replace fear here, because I really think that that we can rewire fear and replace it with faith. And that a woman of faith can bring light in every room. And it's as simple as faith in people, right? And so if we are constantly walking fear, our guard is up, it's hard for us to see the pure intention of good people. It's hard for us to see that the world actually is a beautiful place. And so what we want to do here is to use our reticular activator, that part of our brain called RAS, reticular activator system, which allows us to actually expand on what we focus on. So if I'm focused on the things I'm worried about, I am going to see more evidence of things to worry about, because what I am going to see, what's going to actually pop out, are all the negative things, right? But if I focus on faith, and see the goodness in people, I'm going to see more evidence of it, because my reticular activator, it's like when you're pregnant, you see all the pregnant women. When you're looking for a white car, you see all the white car. If you're looking for, a red skirt, all of a sudden you start to see all the red skirt, because what you are on a hunt for, your mind, your RAs, a part of your brain, is actually at work. So let's use our reticular activator to replace fear with doubt. So the script that we use in the women's school is, what's the best case scenario? So here you are in your bed and it's nighttime, and you're ruminating things of that you can't sleep, because you're like, what if my child gets in an accident? What if, we lose my job? What if? So then we replace all the what ifs, like my beautiful friend said, into what's the best case scenario. And you become the best case scenario woman. And on top of that, you say to yourself, life is always happening for me and not to me. We are not a victim if we have the eyes to see the opportunity of suffering and growth as a brilliant moment for us to actually begin to give birth to a new woman. So now the lens is that it's now the best case scenario, and whatever that doesn't work out is meant to actually bring us a gift and a privilege of becoming more of who we could be. And so we are always seeing the opportunity behind every adversity, behind every pain, and we create a habit of seeing and seeking the good in good moments and also not so good moments. And that, my friend, begins a journey of a woman of faith. Faith in ourselves to see and seek the good, faith in people, that people are good, and faith in God, that God is actually a loving God. Because here's the thing, when we see good in people, they actually find ways to hold that standard. When that's our standard, it's like, I know you're good. I see the good in you. I know there's more to that. They actually want to rise to that goodness. So we create an invitation for them to elevate the higher and better self, because there's goodness in all of us. Even the worst criminal has some goodness in them. And so we become that woman who becomes a light in their darkness when we see them in faith. So I wanted to really point this out, because the what ifs in our world can cost us a beautiful and meaningful and peaceful life. And here's the sad part, they never happen. They're what if scenarios that we are emotionally internalizing over and over again, which robs us of the gift of the present moment. So turn your fear into faith, like my dear friend, enlightened me today. And use that faith as an invitation to become a woman that brings light in every situation, because we need more of women that are bringing light in this world in amidst the darkness, especially during the season. Replace those thoughts that we have no control of, that we're ruminating, that's costing us sleepless nights, anxiety, and headache, into the best case scenario. Put your reticular activator work, and you will see and start to see the beautiful life in front of you. Thank you.